Hello loves, this is Yelena Crawford and I am back for another full moon video. So today I'm going to be doing this just a bit differently. I decided to do the guided meditation and journal prompts separate for those of you who are just interested in the astrology. In this part of it, you are going to get just that. But if you are interested in the guided meditation and journal prompts, then just keep an eye out for that because it will be out tomorrow. But for now, welcome to my channel. If you've never been here before, my name is Yelena Crawford and I am an intuitive astrologer. So if you are interested in getting a reading with me, you can find the link to book that below. Today, we're going to be focusing on 4 things that you need to know about this full moon in Libra, which is going to be occurring on Sunday, March 28th at 2:48 p.m. and that is Eastern Standard Time. So this is the first super moon of the year, which is really cool because it's also the first moon of the Astrological New Year. So happy Astrological New Year, you guys. And the super moon just basically means that it's really close to Earth, making it a lot bigger and a lot brighter than it normally looks. So it might even black out some of the stars in the sky, but I think it'll be a perfect spectacle for all of you star watchers out there. The moon should be beautiful and bright in itself. So a full moon, what does it mean, right? What does this signify? It is a time of reassessment. It's a time when we look at our lives and everything that's going on in it, everything that we have on our plate that maybe we started at the beginning of this lunar cycle, or that it was started way before that too. It doesn't just have to entail that time period, but it's a time of letting go, right? So we might be figuring out what needs to go in our lives to make more room for new that wants to enter. I mean, we are in Cardinal energy, right? That is that initiatory new energy of starting something new. But as we know, with all new things, something has got to go, right? So it's also a time of culmination. So if you've been working really hard on something, this is the stage in the moon cycle that is compared to the stage of the plant life cycle when it's blooming, when the flowers have bloomed. They're so bright and colorful, and the fruit is juicy and ripe and ready to be shared, right? So it is that culmination, that fruition point. So like I said, if you've been working hard on something, you might be getting a nice little pat on the back, a nice little reward here for your karmic deeds that have been done, right? And it's also like a climax point. So we're reaching the climax of something, the apex. And it's a good time for forgiving, coming into balance, because in astrology, if you know what to look for in an astrology chart, a full moon is when the moon is exactly opposite the sky in that circular chart. And this is known as an opposition, which is a push and pull, tug of war type of dynamic between 2 luminaries, the sun and the moon. So this creates almost kind of like a crisis point, right? Where something in our lives must be brought back into harmony, be brought back into balance. And of course, we have that release. Full moon is great for releasing things, whether they be emotional, because the moon is emotional in nature. And it's also a heightened energy point, which I'm sure I'm not telling anybody anything new. I used to work in the restaurant industry, and let me tell you, we would definitely know when it was a full moon. I was definitely the little local astrologer for all of these people, and they would all come up to me and say, "Lena, is it a full moon tonight? I can tell people are crazy." So yeah. And according to Native Americans, they like to name all of the moons, or they did name all of the moons. This was the worm moon. It's called that because in the Northern Hemisphere, it is spring, which warms the soil, and all the cute little worms come out. So that is why it is known as the worm moon. So let's break down, first of all, what the moon represents. So this moon is in the sign of Libra. Every single moon has a different energy. So we're going to break a little bit down about the moon, and then we'll break Libra down a little bit more, and then we're going to get into those 4 things that you guys must know. So the moon, It represents our emotions, our inner world. It is definitely the ebb and flow of our moods. It also represents our instinctual nature. So, those things that we do that we don't even realize we're doing it because it's so deep and ingrained within us. And it's our inner world, our deep hidden parts of ourselves. So, it's that aspect of you that only you and the people who are the closest to you will know. So if you want to check your moon sign in your chart, that's how you can tell what energy you hold. It also is asking to be seen, right? The full moon. It is big and bright and illuminated. It is the most intense illumination stage of the entire lunar phase cycle, which is very reflective of whatever energies are being sent down to it. So in this instance, we've got a whole lot of energy sitting over in Aries that is being reflected by the moon. Now we're going to get into that a little bit in a second. I just wanted to plant that seed there for a moment. But yeah, so this is asking to be seen. It's making us more emotional potentially. So it might be bringing all of these things up to the surface for us to work through, right? It's asking, they're begging and asking to be seen so that we can shed some light on them and release if need be, okay? So that is exactly what goes on during a full moon. Now, Libra energy. Libra is an air sign, and it's also a cardinal sign. It's that initiation energy, take charge, leadership, right? And it's also masculine, okay? And it's air, so it's social and communicative. It really enjoys relationship. It loves to toss ideas back and forth off of other people. And that's how it tends to make its decisions because it really values the opinions of other people, which can be a positive or a negative, right? And it really frolics and excels and is in its best, most productive energy when it's able to be a social butterfly and really connect with others. Also can tend to forget its own needs to make other people more comfortable, okay? And to avoid confrontation at all costs. So it's like that people pleasing energy. It will avoid because it doesn't want to tip the scales, right? Libra is the scales. It wants to keep those scales nice and balanced because it doesn't like the repercussions that come when they are out of balance. So now that we have a good idea of what the moon represents, what the full moon represents, and what Libra energy is, we need to know that there's a whole lot going on with this moon. It's not just the full moon. It's reflecting all of that energy across from it in Aries. So you might be asking, okay, well, what's an Aries, right? Well, if you have been paying attention to the astrology, you would know that the sun just moved into Aries on the 20th of March. So now the other luminary that brings life to everything, that represents our path in life, our purpose, our mission, and our identity, our ego, all of these things. Now, the sun really likes to be in Aries, but it does boost the ego quite a bit, okay? So this is something that definitely needs to be brought into balance here. Now, the sun is also together exactly at 8 degrees with Venus, the planet of love, romance, harmony, desire, beauty, aesthetics, all of those things, and Chiron. Chiron is a centaur and it's an asteroid. It's known as the wounded healer. So it represents those aspects of ourselves that have yet to be integrated, that are usually our core wounds that emanate from childhood, right? So this is bringing in a huge theme of healing. Now that we have all this background, let's go ahead and dive into the 4 things that you must know about this full moon, starting with number 1. It's going to bring a major shift in who you are as a person, okay? Big time. So Aries, we've got the sun and Venus and Chiron sitting in Aries. What does Aries represent? It's the ego, the self, it's the individual. It is all about individuality, self-confidence. It represents a person who is a great self-starter, but they have a big ignition, a big self-starting ability, and then they might burn out a little bit fast, okay? And I like the representation. Aries is fire, but it would be like the fire of lighting a match, right? So you get that big spark, it starts, it ignites, and then it burns out very quickly. So they have to be careful not to burn themselves out, which is the energy that we're in, right? So we want to look to where the moon is because that's going to help us gain that balance that we need right now. So basically, Aries energy can make us more self-centered, more egotistical, more impulsive. So these are some things that we definitely want to watch out for at this time. Like I said before, we're healing that feminine energy. We're finding balance between the two. This happy medium is what we need. We need both energies. So what we're doing with all of this is we're really stepping, you guys, into a refreshed, new, more evolved, more mature version of ourselves. But it's not necessarily going to be easy, let me tell you that. And I'm sure you kind of already are seeing this yourself. We have to do some work to get there. And it can be really painful. It can be really annoying. It can definitely take us way the hell out of our comfort zone when we start working on the ego. The ego wants to be safe and it doesn't want to go anywhere. And when you start evolving and you start growing as a person, especially if you are on the spiritual path, you've been going through an awakening, you're really shedding the layers, and the ego feels threatened. Aries represents the ego. Chiron is sitting right there, wanting to heal you at your core so that you can come into more harmony and peace within yourself, right? So that you can find a lot more joy in everything that you do in life, in your relationships, in your career, your role in your family, your overall identity. Everything may change once you do this deep healing. So this might show up by you deciding that you're going to show up different in relationships. So maybe you were the type of person who had toxic codependency issues, or there was aggression in relationships and lots of anger, or maybe there was infidelity and you decide to choose to do things differently. You're going to learn as a person, learn from who you are and what stance you now take, and that's going to transform everything, right? So you are literally changing who you are as a person. That might just be in your career. You might be starting to gain more self-confidence and moving in a certain direction, gaining more experience by deciding to step out of that comfort zone and do things that you've never done before. You're tracking new territory, right? You're being a pioneer. You're paving your own way, just like that Aries energy has always asked everyone to do. With the sun in Aries, this is a big consciousness activation. The sun does represent this higher consciousness. It is the center of everything, and it brings life, it brings heat, it brings energy to everything, and we rely on it. It's here helping to expand our consciousness in a way in which the old qualities of ourselves are left behind and will never return back to us. So we're reaching a major pivotal point in time right now. All of these unhealthy self-dynamics with Chiron there, the wounded healer, and Venus, how we value ourselves. It's all about loving yourselves first. This is a big awakening moment where you can sense a brand new person is emerging like a butterfly emerges from its dormancy in a cocoon, right? Okay, with all of this said, I like to read what are called the inside degrees because it gives us a little bit more insight on these specific degree points that these full moons are happening at. So, with all of that said, the inside degrees are channelings for every degree of the zodiac. You can look them up online if you want, just type in inside degrees. And I'm going to read you for Aries and for Libra. So Aries, 8 degrees where the sun, Venus, and Chiron are. It says a lizard dressed in blue satin and pointed shoes. And it says entertainment, spectacle, self-exteriorization. I am a lovable object. Taking on roles for fun and frolic. Becoming everything and nothing. Identified with style and finesse. Life as a throwaway, with the desire and intention to get away with a series of extravagant ruses. You are absolutely fascinated by the extent to which nobody can catch you at your favorite game. the juicy portrayal of what everybody wants to see, devoid of conscience or ethic. The ideal amoral opportunist who is loaded with talent and is the world's best self-exploiter, to a point of a great joke or trick that becomes much more compelling than any real thing. So in my opinion, this is basically asking us to step outside of the false self, outside of a version of ourselves that once existed that served a very important purpose of protection in this mundane world that we live in, this third dimensional realm of existence that we live in. And it is the ego, right? That's why it's that big placement up in Aries. It's about letting go of the side of ourselves that's all about the vanity, the constant attention seeking, that's thirsty for the likes and the comments and all of the million accolades that we get, right? The selfie queen, whatever you want to call it. But then there's the flip side too, because the ego holds two sides. And there's one side that's often forgotten. And that is the side of you that won't stand in her power to make quick, sound decisions. The side of you that may be indecisive, always putting others first to your detriment, that's constantly people pleasing and never filling your cup up before trying to fill up another. And then becoming a martyr because of that. So these are all things that it's asking us to release, right? And then what's so beautiful about this, I want to read you the Libra one really quick because this is where the moon is and this is what we're supposed to be moving towards. I love this message. So it says a vast junkyard. So many things have come to nothing. Such youthful promise gone awry, all because essentials were not heeded, the basics were denied. This gross neglect opens two doors, both of which beckon. The near door is a chute downward into evermore of the same thing. It somehow, though, has an alluring feeling at the entrance. Now the far door is almost lost amongst the rubble, and it hardly looks like much. But those who walk through there begin slowly to turn everything around, to learn the most invaluable lessons from losing their center, and even to regenerate into much better than new. From the vantage point of the gods, those with the courage to go far wrong are the likeliest candidates for the greatest turnarounds. For when you have been to the discard pile, you can feel throughout your whole being the miracle of tapping the lost chord and awakening in the midst of the madness. So this, to me, it screams not walking with the crowd, being willing to be different, being willing to step into your authenticity, shedding those ego aspects of yourself, not worrying about what other people think and pretending, right? Having this persona on, this mask on. And being willing to take that door, remember that second door that's hidden, that doesn't look anywhere near as alluring as some of, the other behaviors, like all of these selfies that we take and everything that we do to get the attention, that instant gratification. But there's this other door that might take a little bit longer. There's no instant gratification. There's a lot of deep healing. It could be painful. But when we take that, we open up a portal straight to a version of ourselves that exists on the other side, that it connects us to everyone and everything, right? That moves us more into our life's mission, our purpose in this lifetime. But are we brave enough to open up that door, to take the road less taken, right? So this is really powerful. It's all about the deep healing of core wounds from childhood too, which separates us from our higher self and from our authenticity. All right, so let's go ahead. I spent a lot of time on that one. That was probably the longest one. Let's go ahead and move on to number 2. And I said, letting something go. So we might be reviewing and assessing specific areas in our lives where it's either time to let something go that's no longer serving us, that maybe is taking up too much time and it's just, hanging out unnecessarily, where we can free up space to focus on all the other things that we have going on. So we're feeling extra communicative and like we might want to bounce these ideas off of other people. We want to make sure that we're not deciding based off of somebody else's influence, though. That's number one, first and foremost, very important. Now, there might be something standing in the way of you and your individuality, you and your self expression, you and your self confidence. So, what could that be? Maybe something in the way of your path moving forward. Now, this doesn't have to be anything huge, right? For me, let me give you a little bit example. So, I was doing so many things at once. Typical, we've got a sextile over to Mars and the North Node, which are in Gemini. Gemini tends to balance many different things at once. I don't know if I would call that balance, but they tend to be all over the place. They are constantly researching different topics and doing many different things. I would say the word multitasking fits them very well, but it can be kind of erratic energy, especially when you are having the North Node there, which is bringing us towards our destiny. There's got to be something that's released, right? Because we've got so many things going on that it's kind of clouding the path towards where we really need to go. So in my life, I was doing so many things at one time. I had this amazing job that landed in my lap, working for Heather with Astrology for Heather, as her teacher's assistant for her amazing new astrology academy. It's full this year, but if you are interested, you can get on the waiting list for when it opens in the winter of this year. So just a little side note there. But I have this going on. I'm in a really long astrology course. I'm doing readings, and I'm also doing life coaching. And I feel like I really love astrology so much. My coaching is part of my astrology program. So I've really made the decision to eliminate my coaching programs, because I feel like it's unnecessary. It's taking up a lot of my time, and I really want to focus on what I love the most, what I feel like calling towards, and something had to be let go of. So it was the coaching, and I feel free. It's so weird. I feel light, I feel liberated, and I feel really excited for the path forward, even though it's a little confusing, right? I'm not sure how it's going to play out, how I'm going to build a business from it, but I'm willing to take that door that's less traveled, right? That path that's less traveled, because I understand the spiritual journey. You just have to trust, right? And follow the leads that you're getting. So if there's something that needs to be released, maybe do some deep diving. If you want, I'm going to be having some letting go journal prompts in my other video that will be released tomorrow with the meditation. So you can tune into that. Maybe that will help you to decipher what it is that needs to be let go of. So basically, it's helping us to step more onto our spiritual mission, into our purpose, and into this next chapter of our lives that's being ushered in by this astrological new year. So by honoring yourself, you guys, it's going to bring a lot more peace, harmony, and balance into the drive that you have towards achieving what it is that you're being called towards to achieve. Okay, so it's all about this beautiful sense of balance that when we have those scales and one side seems a little bit heavier, if we take off one little pebble of whatever is on there, we can bring it into perfect harmony, right? Where they're just floating in tandem. Perfect balance, perfect harmony. And you wouldn't believe how much lighter your life experience will get, how much you can laser focus and really streamline towards the direction where you're headed. And the full moon, like I said, it reflects the light of the sun, which is illuminating our inner world, revealing what we're holding on to, where we need to shift, where we need to change. So maybe it's not something in your external reality that needs to be released. Maybe it's a belief system. Maybe it's negative thoughts you have about yourself. Maybe you don't believe that you have enough information to do what you want to do, or that you're not ready in a certain way, or that you're not good enough. And those are things very well that needs to be worked on as well. So just take a couple moments to reflect and contemplate during this full moon weekend to see where that might be happening for you. Number 3, coming into harmony and balance with your destiny, right? which is something we were just kind of talking on. So I'm going to make this one a little bit shorter, but it could also pertain to initiating something new. Maybe something new comes on your path, which is going to give you the next little piece of the puzzle that you need to move forward. Even though we're not completely clear yet on the picture, on the big picture, we're getting little tidbits of information, right? So be patient with yourself. Take the time to think things through. Don't act impulsively. Make sure whatever it is right for you, and leave the rest behind, okay? So there might be talks during this time about different contracts and agreements. Libra does rule contracts, agreements, all of those types of things, anything pertaining to law, legal agreements. And this might have to do with your destined track forward. Just to give you an example, my parents are stepping into a brand new chapter of their lives. They're retiring. So there's so many contracts and legal agreements. Like they're about to purchase a house in a different state, and they are getting ready to file for whatever they need to do. I've never done retirement, so I'm not sure on the exact paperwork, but there are so many legal agreements and different things, contracts that need to be filled out. And also, even just on a small scale for me with this job, I've had to sign contracts. We're getting ready to sign another contract, and there's agreements being made about our schedule and all of these different things. So yeah, I mean, you might be seeing a lot of this playing out in different ways in your life, whether it be the finalization of a divorce, or maybe you're moving and there's lease agreements that need to be signed, or whatever it might be. But you may be noticing that at this time as well. Now, I was listening to one of my favorite astrologers, and she mentioned the kite formation that's in this chart. And if you've never heard of a kite, it's an opposition with two sextiles, and it's a very, very harmonious, amazing energy, right? And basically, we've got this sextile that's being made from Saturn over to all of this energy in Aries, which is bringing in the balance, or sorry, it's bringing in the stability, and it's also giving us this self-authority, okay? Which is what we need, right? It's what the Libra energy needs, is to step into its own authority. I am good enough. I have what it takes. I know how to say no. I know how to clearly set boundaries so that I can move forward in my new identity in a healthy way, right? So this is where that new identity is tied in. And yes, it's really amazing. So this brings harmony into your relationships as well. So this is a huge transformation of relationship, because when you change, the people in your life change. When you change, you start wanting different types of relationships. You don't want the same thing anymore. I'll tell you one thing. I look back when I was younger and I was in this bad girl stage or whatever, and I liked the bad boy. And I look back and I just think that is so funny, because I do not resonate with that at all anymore. And I just even notice in my friendships and everything, like I want different things. Now that my life is really, gosh, changing so much. I'm changing so much as a person, really trying to hone my spirituality and like stepping into my authenticity. And honestly, all I want is the same from other people. I don't want people who are attention whores. I don't want people who are having meaningless sexual relationships. And I don't want that. You know, I want purity, and I want to have fun in that sense. And I think that this energy is really healing us on a deep level in that aspect as well. And then we've got that other sextile of the kite over to Mars in the North Node in Gemini, which is really bringing in this beautiful harmony between our mental energy, which is Gemini, and our physical take action energy, which is the Mars. Okay, so it's almost marrying those two together, which is really supercharging us towards that North Node, which is that karmic destiny point. So it's pulling the collective forward to where we need to go on that straight line trajectory. So this is just beautiful energy coming into balance between the Aries and Libra sectors of life, and coming into harmony and balance, like I said, with your destiny. And number 4 here is beautifying. Seriously, this has been huge in my life lately, and I got like a to-do list a mile long to continue. And it kind of fits the theme with April and spring and the equinox, right? As well as Libra. Libran energy is it's ruled by Venus. It's one of the Venus signs. And it's all about beauty, aesthetic, makeup, hair, like your appearance. But for this specifically, being with the moon represents home, right? It represents family, all of those types of things, possessions. So, like for instance, I'm about to go out when it's not raining here. It's raining right now. But I'm about to go out and clean the inside of the wintry crap out of the inside of my car. And just get my car ready for spring and summer, because it just makes you feel so good, right? It's like we clean our inside, we clean our emotions, but we got to clean all of our stuff too. I mean, everything matters in this physical reality. How you take care of yourself, how you take care of your things, how it looks makes you feel better. I did a huge spring cleaning in my house. I rearranged my office, and I swear, you guys, I feel like a new person. Even my spare bedroom, that's like my junk storage room, I organized. I put shelves in there, and I walk in there and it just makes me smile. Even though I don't hang out in there, it's just like one of those things, cleaning out the closets, taking all the winter clothes, putting them away, getting out spring and summer stuff, and organizing. Like I even do the color coding thing, whatever. You don't have to go to that extent, but cleaning up garden beds, cleaning up your yard, feeling a desire to exercise, to work on your body, right? So we're getting ready to purify, to beautify. So eating lighter, eating beautiful spring foods. Maybe you start to eat smoothies again to beautify your skin, make your complexion glow. It is that time of year. Or maybe we just do an appearance beautification, like nails and toenail paint, pedicure, manicure, shopping for spring clothes, getting our hair highlighted, or whatever makes you feel good, right? Whatever rejuvenates you. And kind of releasing that old hibernation version of ourselves. And, my final point I want to give to you guys today is that I've already made it. Basically, Libra rules relationships. And this full moon, it has a huge, huge emphasis on the self, on your identity, on changing who we are, on healing at a deep core level. And it does bring in the aspect of relationships because, like I said, when you change, your relationships change. Your relationship to relationships change, right? So you don't need other people to validate you anymore. You become whole in yourself. You give yourself the validation that you have always wanted and always needed. You become your best friend, right? And all of these planetary alignments, even though maybe we're not quite there yet, they're all little steps on the journey to becoming more whole when we use the energy in that way. We need to work with it. The planets don't just make that happen for us. We have to work with it. But anyways, you guys, I know this was quite long. I hope that this message resonated with you today. Happy full moon in Libra, you guys. We are finally in April. I am just ecstatic. I feel like my energy has changed. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you like this new format. Please let me know in the comments below if there are any other videos you would like to learn about. Tap the like button. Don't forget to tap subscribe. Share this with your friends and leave me a comment. Thank you so much. I love you guys. Once again, peace and namaste. Keep an eye out for my full moon meditation and journal prompt video tomorrow.